Half-Orc, the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 147, Wren, the Half-Orc Grave Cleric Tween. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining Nicole the GameMasterMom's table in the Levitating Platter. Hello, and welcome to another exciting bonus sort of an episode for Sidekicks and Side Quests. Because, you know, this season I've moved to a monthly model, so this is a special time indeed. 2 episodes in a month. Wow, it's almost as if it was like one of our previous seasons. Yes, this is the podcast where, you know, we have guests on. And it is the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast, in my humbly biased opinion. I've got an awesome guest for you this episode, but before we get to it, I got to leave you in suspense with the ad read. This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 2 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to champion diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club. And this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph. And be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club. All right. And we're back from that exciting and riveting ad read. And it's only been a couple months since we last spoke. So hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to reintroduce yourself? Tell us who it is that you are, what is it that you do, and what is it that prompted you to want to come back on the podcast?
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm Nicole, also known as GameMasterMom. I was just here, I think a few months ago, although time goes by really fast, so don't quote me on that. But I reached out to Kurt about getting back on the podcast because I finally have a launch date for my first book in the Tales of Aetheria series. It's on Kickstarter. That's where I decided to do the launch, and it's the campaign's open the whole month of May, so May 1st through the 31st.
Exciting. Yeah. So what's this whole journey been like for you, getting from the pre-planning stages to the planning stages to the execution to all right, now we're here at crowdsourcing and let's make this dream happen sort of a thing.
It's been wild. I mean, I think at this point I've been working on the book for almost exactly a year. I started it sometime around like last May is when I really got serious about it.
Mhm.
And going through the process with finding an illustrator. My illustrator is amazing. And getting all the story and the pictures all together. It is a children's picture book, right? So the illustration is a huge, huge piece of the story. And then, yeah, just kind of deciding the right way to launch it and looking at the different packages and exciting little like limited edition things and little add-on extras that I can put in the crowdfunding campaign that I probably wouldn't be able to bring, at least in the beginning, if I was just funding it all myself
Right.
straightforwardly. So super excited about trying out this Kickstarter way of doing things, because the options for what you can offer are pretty much only limited by what people are interested in.
Very true. And, I'm sure all of us and most of us listeners and such have engaged in a crowdfunding effort now and again. I know for sure, certainly I can say, like, oh, like most of the MCDM stuff that has come out, I've kickstarted,
Mhm.
back when Critical Role did some for, I think, some miniatures. But I know I for sure backed like their animated show, like when they were first pitching it. So I got to say, oh, I'm one of the 88,000 people that got to launch that. So I know obviously by when this comes out, like everyone will be able to go check out the Kickstarter to get an idea of what it is that you're looking to do. But in case
Yeah.
someone is just getting to this later in the month, what's the goal that you're looking for? But then what's like that pie in the sky sort of a dream where you're like, hey, Critical Role can ask and get $11 million. You deserve
Right?
$1 million for sure. But it's like, what's the goal where you're like, oh man, this would just be wild and crazy if it ever got this high.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't really have like an upper limit in mind. I'm just gonna kind of see what happens with it. Definitely have this like small little glimmer of hope of like, oh, it could really catch on and get big, and that would be great. But the reasonable goal, the small end goal,
Hmm.
is really just to pay for at least a portion of a the first like bulk run of books. And really, I don't know if anybody listening or if you yourself have already like looked into options for people who are self-publishing. There are great options out there these days. It's actually pretty easy to self-publish and pretty low cost if you're doing a digital only product, or
Hmm.
if you're doing a print product that you're okay with doing at like a print on demand kind of quality.
Hmm.
But for an illustrated children's book, it's like I really want like a big hardcover, sturdy, nice quality book. And
Yeah.
you can really only get that quality from doing a big bulk run of like 500, 1,000, 2,000 at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my day job, I am familiar with that. Yeah, where I can look behind, the screens and the numbers, and I can see like, oh yeah, like we really believe in this, and we think this will do well. So it's like, here's like, a chunk of like several thousand copies of this book, or it's like, oh, this one's like a more niche sort of a topic, so it's like a smaller print run, maybe only like only 1,000 or so of where we
Mhm.
make it. So I believe you and understand the whole like, I want it to be good quality. I want it to like be tangibly in your hands and not, sacrifice that quality just for the sake of trying to save a buck. Like you're really trying to deliver on like, I'm a D&D nerd, but I want to like do something fun that incorporates my family, my fun, my world building and all that to make it accessible for everyone to be able to enjoy.
Yeah, that's my hope, and I think it's a realistic hope. I think we're gonna get there. So I'm very excited about the Kickstarter process. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna make the book either way. It's just the
Mhm.
Kickstarter, if it funds and does well, is really going to help me to give like the quality book that I really want to put in people's hands.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So everybody, hopefully now, at this point in the podcast episode, you're already going to find the Kickstarter information to go ahead and put your pledge in, and
Yeah,
help us secure this goal.
yeah,
But yeah, as we said, we're going to treat this as a regular episode. I know, obviously the Kickstarter was the major catalyst for having you return so soon. So for our guests who maybe are just now finding the podcast, I know what is it? Because I'm still a total Instagram noob. But we did the whole collaboration on a post thing, so that way it would count on
yeah.
like your page and my page. And so like your post did like really well because it's like, oh, Game Master Mom Nicole, like this is amazing, and like you're on this episode. So yeah, hopefully this one will do even better than the
Yeah,
last
I
one.
hope so. I really hope so.
You're an author, you're a game master, you're a dungeon master for your friends and family, and certainly for
Yes.
your kids primarily. But you're also turning into quite a bit of a podcast host yourself. I know by now Story Crafters has been out for a while, and you've been doing the dual, release it as a podcast, but also you've been doing it to YouTube too. So now that
Yeah.
you're, I think, up to what, episode 7, I think, right now at this point.
Yeah, we'll probably be on like 10 or 11 at the time that this comes out because we
Right.
just recorded 10, but it hasn't been released yet.
Right. So how do you feel like now that you've got your toes wet in the podcasting arena that it's been that whole experience?
I like it. I think it's really fun. I'm always excited to have conversations on my podcast because I'm lucky enough to have 3 other hosts. So it's the 4 of us almost every time we all 4 show up, and it's
Mhm.
myself and 3 other really cool, kind of like forever dungeon master types that run a lot of games. And yeah, it's really fun. I think our next foray is going to be bringing on guests other than just the 4 of us. So I'm
Ah.
excited to try that out and get some fresh perspectives on the show.
Oh yeah, of course. And not to toot my own horn or inadvertently invite myself, oh, let me just barge into your house here. Of course I'm always down to be able to talk and reminisce and share my thoughts and opinions and such things. But yeah, no, it sounds like everything's been going great. The format, for those of you who are like maybe on the fence of like, oh my goodness, like another podcast I have to listen to. But it really is truly like, the 4 of you coming together. It's a recap of like what's been happening in your lives. There's like a shared topic or theme that gets discussed. And not only that, but you're also doing a little bit of Forgotten Realms lore that you throw in
Mhm.
there since, we have Baldur's Gate 3 and, all the various published adventures and products that are out there that maybe people are like, I literally just used this book because I needed like a big library place, but I have no idea what Candlekeep actually is like. So your
Right.
your podcast sort of provides that public service.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting podcast. It's a little bit different than some of the other things that are already out there that are
Right.
really, really good podcasts. So I'm just trying to bring a little different flavor.
For sure. Yes, you do. Excellent. Okay. So yeah, we've got children's books that we're working on. We got games that we're running. We've got the podcast that's taking off and doing well. And certainly, I know any of your co-hosts are certainly welcome to appear on this podcast as well. Even if you wanted to do like a mega episode where, I have had episodes where like the five-sided fates. That was like 5 guests I had all at once. So it can be done on this podcast. It just makes it a really long episode. But you could get 4 times the amount of NPCs if the story crafters, for example, all came on.
Yes. Oh, we
Yeah.
should set that up. That would be so fun.
Yeah, I would love to try and pull that one off and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast, is all Dungeons and Dragons themed. So I guess the way I would reinterpret the question, since again, people will have heard this episode shortly after Christmas, but since Christmas time or a little bit before that, and you've spoiler alert already said this on Storycrafters, but have you had an opportunity to play some D&D since the last time we spoke? How's that all been going? Have you been bouncing between different systems and worlds?
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit. Mostly still playing my homebrew campaign, which is Aetheria, which is what all the books and stuff are based on. So I feel like everybody's probably getting sick of hearing me talk about Aetheria, but that's mostly my life. Also been playing a little bit of the 15-minute D&D series from the kids table, which is
Ooh, okay.
really fun to play with kids or new players. They do something really similar to what I do, where they really simplify like the D&D 5e mechanics and player sheets so
Mhm.
that it's not as overwhelming to look at for a kid or for a new player.
Okay. And I know also our previous guest of the podcast, Randall Hampton, also developed like his own very, very kid friendly tabletop system. Little Game Masters, I think is what he calls it, which also has like a companion book or comic series because Randall's an illustrator himself, so he has a very particular flavor of art that dawns his character sheets and books and the like. So if you're ever branching out and you're looking for other illustrators and artists and collaborators, I might throw him your way.
Yeah, I need to check out Randolph. I don't know if I have followed his work before. I need to go do that.
Yeah, there you go. And you can also check out his episode as well. Episode 139, Zaxibus and the Prickly Pete's Pouring Station, which was a very fun one to do. And it was just like right before your episode too. It was about 2 episodes before.
All right.
Yeah.
Made a note. I'm going to go back to that one.
Pump up some of those back catalog numbers. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, of course, the D&Ds and all that, and the sidekicks and the side quests. So since the last time we spoke, and since this is like, again, you're relatively fresh, since the last time we spoke, has there been any new or interesting NPC characters or sidekick characters that you've come across in media and games? And why is this character your new favorite? I know last time you said Scratch, and I did, spoiler alert, in February, get my birthday money, bought an Xbox Series X, downloaded the premium version of BG3, and that is the game. I looked at Fallout 76 and I said, I'll come back to you at some point. I don't know when, but now
Mhm.
I'm doing Baldur's Gate 3. So now I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and so now I know Scratch. I'm like, oh
Now you
yeah,
know Scratch.
I know
Good.
Scratch. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Um, I don't know that I've actually played anything with this character yet, but I'm going to. I had people submit their characters for to be featured in my book and my
Okay.
game that I'm coming up with as well, that's not out yet, but it will be
Okay.
soon. And one one of the submissions I got from my friend Chris, that his handle on Instagram is the Forever DM, if anybody's heard of him, but the
Hmm.
cool guy out in California area, and he submitted this like little grumpy like goblin character, and we decided kind of collaboratively that he's the janitor at the like a Heroes Academy of Etheria, where a lot of my
Oh,
book takes place. And
Okay.
I just cannot cannot wait to write him as an NPC in my game because I just feel like he's so cute. Like, he kind of has I imagine he kind of has sort of the energy of, like, oh, I can't remember his name, but, like, the weird kind of janitor guy in Hogwarts that has, like,
Filch.
the cat. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Filch, and then I was trying to think of other notable janitor characters. I mean, I know the Kill Every Monster podcast. I think when they did their episode on giant bugs, if I'm not mistaken, Aram had come up with like a kobold janitor who had like
Okay.
basically was kind of like an artificer, but because they had their potions and tonics, that was like their cleaning supplies and how they would clean up after all the wizards at the university or whatever. I thought that would be another
Mm.
good Aram will have to message us or something like that, or I'll have to go back and listen to remember what that particular kobold's name was. But yeah, a goblin, a kobold. It's like you go to one of the two extremes. It's like either a very small individual or it's like a very big, sort of tall, lumbering person that is responsible for cleaning up the grounds and taking care of the school.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
Maybe some ogre or troll will show up eventually as like an assistant janitor to the small goblin.
That's a great idea. I'm just gonna write that down.
Well, I got tired of climbing ladders, so I hired Brunhilde here. She can like lift me up really high up so I can get the cobwebs.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I figured kids would like that dynamic of like the little guy and then like the really big lady or
Okay.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have ideas every now and then, and I give them away for free, no problem.
I love it.
And then same sort of question as far as side quests are concerned. Any side quest or B plot element you've come across that you're like, wow, that's really cool. This is like my new favorite thing.
Hmm. I don't think I have one particularly in mind. I'm also still playing Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm trying to think what kind of randomness I've been up to in there.
Well, I can report on this podcast episode that Duncan is happily cemented in Act 3 right now because I've been playing a lot. So he's in
Nice.
Act 3. We're heading into the sewers to do all the Undercity stuff and finally deal with this pesky lady who captured my friend that I'm going to go
Yeah.
rescue. Duncan will
Yeah,
not stand for this. Yeah.
that's a good time. That's a good time. Yeah, I think mostly what I'm doing in Baldur's Gate right now, I'm actually in Act 3 as well, and the plethora of shops is really interesting to me. So I'm just
hmm
like going around and buying random stuff that's like kind of pointless but cute, like new clothes
Okay.
for all my people.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, like buying the clothes or just, looting every chest and then just being like, oh, a swarthy shirt in red. It's like,
Yeah.
sure, we'll try that.
Do I need another hat? I probably do.
Yeah. I know Duncan has romanced Karlach, so I know like every pretty thing I find. Oh, and I also made Duncan as like the Model 4, which is like the big tall human. So, he's the
Yeah.
human fighter, battle master fighter. And so yeah, like every pretty thing that he finds, he's like, oh, Karlach should have this. She would look good in this. So
Oh,
that's like kind of his way of me dealing with the clothes. And I know I missed out on the dress from the one temple over by the factory because I
mm,
did things out of sequence, and so I was like, "That's really weird." I came over here and there's nothing for me to do, and it's like, "Oh, because I already resolved that, and so no way for me to get the dress." And they just kept getting mad that I was snooping around and going through their stuff, so I was like, "I'll just reload
fair
a
enough.
save and pretend." They only scolded me one time, and then I just left.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a
Duncan
great
is
game.
chaotic, chaotically good, but he does have chaos within him.
Yeah, well, that's the best way to play, I think.
Okay, but yeah, enjoying all the shops in Baldur's Gate. That's yeah.
We'll
The
call
world
that a
the
side
world is
quest.
crumbling around you, but it's like, hey, the gang goes to the shops.
Let's go shopping. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, shopping episode in the middle of the apocalypse. There we go. And then finally, the way to round out the personal interview section, Nicole, do you have any new passions or hobbies that you've picked up since the last time we spoke? And Why is this new passion or hobby your thing?
Well, I don't know if I have any new ones. I think I'm just expanding on my current ones to a point of almost bursting. I feel like the next hobby I need to take up is like sleeping. I'm just becoming way too busy with all of my hobbies and passions and interests right now.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to burn the candle at both ends. I mean, I know you'll burn bright, but eventually you will have no fuse left.
Yes. I really like I think after having this book, like seeing it finished, it's really like spurred on a lot of my creative writing. So I'm working on like 6 books right now at the same time, which is a little crazy.
Wow, you're gonna put George R. R. Martin out of business. He
I
can't
don't
even
think
get
he
this
even
last
writes
book done.
anymore.
I've
Yeah.
never read any of those books, but ever the joke is like, oh, he'll never finish this book, and all those fans will be just deprived, and all they'll have to live with is some HBO show that I don't know, got weirder and lamer and lazier as it went on or something. I mean,
Yeah. It's a
not
sad joke.
to, yeah, not to poo poo it too much because I know, sure, a lot of hard work and time and energy and effort went into a show, but the audience can certainly be your harshest critic. I suppose sometimes.
Yes. Yes. I'm a fan. I'm a believer in his books, but yeah, I sure wish he would finish that series. That would be nice.
All right, and there we go. It sounds like we made it through the personal interview section. That now I think it's time to head into some NPC creation. And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. So now is the time of the show where we give a loud hurrah, a toast, a cheer to our Patreon supporters. I've got my whiskey sour here to do that. So cheers to you, our queen of the Patreon, Katie Downey, aka Goblin Katie, as well as wealthy tier patrons, Anson Jablinski, and good old mom and dad. Cheers. And also, fun fact, because I've been checking the Patreon, those are our dedicated paying members, but we have a lot of free people that are slowly ticking in and joining us. So, I know I don't have a name to shout out for you, but I do want to at least show my appreciation for at least the free folk who are sticking around the Patreon. I know I need to be more accountable and catch up on all those rewards. And believe me, I've got some cool stuff that I'm working on. If I can just pry myself away from chores and Baldur's Gate 3, then I promise I will get back to doing what I told you that I would do, for all the wonderful financial support you show me. Yeah, so all these named folks, they donate money, $2 or more a month, they get the shout out on every one of our episodes. And, with this season being just once a month, that $2 certainly impacts more. And of course, all these wealthy patrons also get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables. So if we use those here today, then we might get to hear some of their responses. So if you want to learn more and not hear me rattle and prattle and yaddle and every other Dr. Seuss rhyme about this, you should just go to my Patreon website, patreon.com/sidekicks and side quests. You should go to the podcast website or just, go to the podcast show notes below. You can learn about our tiers of patronage, help us to grow and expand our operations at the Levitating Platter in this demi-plane and worlds beyond. Okay, so now that is done, we were talking before we hit the record button, and I think as a treat, because this is like, hey, we're doing this because of the Kickstarter, you wanted to share an NPC from the book and be able to give like a preview, a tease for people to be able to incorporate this character into their games. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, then without further ado, I think it's time we start wending our way through the questions. And the first one we'll ask is, what is the name of the character that we have today?
This character's name is Wren, Wren, Wren,
Okay.
and she is a half orc.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that answers the ancestry question. So Wren the
Oh, it
half
does.
orc.
Oh, I'm skipping ahead.
Oh no,
Wren the
that's
half orc.
fine. That's fine. Yeah, no, that was literally question 2. So it's like we got Wren, okay. And Wren is a
Perfect.
half orc. Excellent. All right. And then what is her her job or their job or role in society?
So she is 12 years old, and she is a student at the Heroes Academy of Aetheria, which is why you would meet her in the book, because our two main protagonists are also students at the academy training to be heroes.
Okay.
And she is training as a grave cleric.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, yes. She's
All right.
spooky.
She's spooky ooky.
Hmm.
Halloween's her favorite time of year.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I love this character.
Okay. And then you said for the age range of the character that she's 12.
Yeah, she's 12. In my book, and also in the game that goes with it, most of the characters are in their kind of like tween to early teen years. So like 10 to 14 kind of age.
All right, interesting. Okay, yeah, because it makes sense. There, it's a learning. It's an academy. You're training to be it. I know as far as clerics are concerned, they might call that like seminary or temple or whatever. So, you know, as far as the published official D&D material, I know they have Strixhaven, which comes from, I believe, their Magic the Gathering universe, but the premise being like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a magical university, which is where like students can go. Basically, it's like a way to be like, maybe to help logically explain like how do you go from level 0 to level 1, sort of a thing. You
Right.
just you grind away at the college experience, and now officially you can call yourself a level 1 adventurer and stuff like that. So
Yes.
this is definitely like especially if they're tweens, it's like maybe akin to a Hogwarts or a boarding school. Or I'm thinking of oh goodness, I'm blanking on the name of the anime, but I know my wife and I watched on Netflix years ago. But it's kind of like a witch academy sort of a anime show where the girls are all like 12 or whatever like that, and it's like we're learning how to be witches, but we're also at school, sort of a
Yes.
thing.
It's kind of like that, like a boarding academy kind of situation. And the way it works in my homebrew world in Etheria is that all of the different classes,
Yeah.
cleric, ranger, fighter, wizard, whatever, all of those, they can all be trained in the same school, in the same academy. There's just
Hmm.
kind of like different departments, right? So there's
Right.
like a headmaster who teaches all the druids. There's like
Hmm.
a headmaster that teaches all the clerics or whatever. So
Right. The dean of the college of artificery, or the dean of the
yeah,
college of fighting spirits, or whatever like that. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, taking the idea of Strixhaven, and then before sidekicks and side quests was a thing, there was a time where my friends and I, previous guests of the podcast and good friends, Michael and Elizabeth Horsley, we like pitched this idea of like, oh, what if we did a podcast where it was like a magical university, and all the classes were represented, but it's like you're following these low level people who are trying to like work their way through, college essentially to become full-fledged adventurers in the world. Well, I sort of all took that idea, and in my major city in the Astral Sea, Bastion, not to be confused with the concept of bastions in the 2024 rules, but a place named Bastion, which is like
Mhm.
my version of Mass Effect's The Citadel mixed with the Marvel Cinematics universe nowhere. It's an entire
Okay.
metropolis built on the body of a dead god. In the mouth of it, in the open mouth of it, resides a place called the Orpheum, which is basically like the ultimate bard school in all of the realms of my homebrew world. And it's run
Hmm.
by the concert master as the factional leader of that learning station. She's a Luxodon bard, an
I
elephant
love it.
person. Uh, but yeah, essentially it's like they're like a higher education place, and it's like, oh, you can go there to find wizards and bards and sorcerers and fighters and
Yeah,
barbarians, and all those folks are represented there at the college. So
yeah.
I feel like every game tries to find some sort of tangible example, and it's especially cool that it's since you're running a game for kids, you make a school that's specifically geared to them to be like, oh yeah, so it's like anyone become an adventurer, especially a half-orc cleric. So that
Yeah.
particular college that Wren is a part of, is it like classified as like a seminary, or just like, oh, this is just the College of Religious Studies or Gods or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a seminary, more of just like, okay, we're in the college of clerics and other like religious type things, you know, not
Ah,
I mean, I feel like within even just clerics, there's like different types, right? So
sure.
there's definitely still some variety there, that there's not like one doctrine, like a seminary that they're teaching.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Sorry, I just meant seminary as the literal term of like, oh, this is a school, a college, a place of learning where it's specifically focused on religious studies. It doesn't necessarily have to belong to one particular deity of your world. But just that
Yes.
they might call it like, oh, that's the seminary. That's like where all the clerics and the paladins go to start taking their classes, all their
Yeah.
philosophy, theology, social communications, all these buzzwords that 12-year-olds don't know. But when the adults are pitched it, when they're like, why should I send my kid to this adventuring college? Then
Yeah.
the dean steps in and is like, well, we have the latest treatises on all of the latest philosophies and theoretical quandaries of the age. And they're like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, I'm willing to pay the 1,000 gold it is to send my kid here for a semester.
Right. I'm just imagining like all the little baby clerics and paladins like sitting together in this big lecture hall that's like theology 101.
Right, exactly. I mean, is that kind of what we should imagine Ren's day is like? Or even at her level, is it just very basic, like maybe you're getting like first aid training because it's like, oh, they expect the clerics to be like healing people. So it's like it actually maybe involves quite a bit of like, here's some like basic science and biology. Here's how you do math, because maybe you will become a cleric in a kingdom and that kingdom will force taxes on you. So you have to know how to pay the taxes and district, I don't know. It could be very interesting. How in depth does the learning go in your world? I know it's for kids, but kids are smart
Yeah.
and they can pick up on things. If they can easily get sucked down rabbit holes on YouTube about like, hey, this is how taxation works in your country or whatever, then they can be like, oh, mom, why are we not, why does this why is our college exempt from taxes from the king or whatever?
Right. Yeah, I would say it's a pretty well-rounded education. I mean, I feel like the kids that are playing will mostly be school age, like grade school age. So
Hmm.
I imagine it's similar to, you know, kind of like you learn the basics and you'll have some specialty classes for your specific thing that you're training to be a hero in. And
Hmm.
definitely some like one-on-one or small group mentorship type classes once you get a little higher up in the academy.
Okay. And you did say tween. So is it how we would think of like a sixth grader, middle schooler sort of a situation where there's like, maybe there's not, I mean, they may do like the whole East Coast or European school of like, oh, you have a college that you reside in, like that's like all the clerics and the paladins like are bunked in this college. But meanwhile,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I have first period. This is medicine. So this is where I
Yeah.
go to learn the medicine skill. My second period, that's athletics training. So now I got to go and like work on my athletics skill. Third period lunch. All right, cool. I'm already for lunch. And then like, the rest of the day is scheduled out. If you had to gamify it or something like that. So it's like, oh, this period you're working on this particular skill. I can only imagine how the
Mhm.
deception and intimidation classes go if it were to be like that.
Right? Yeah, I imagine it very much like that. And you know, I think it's really like more of a like grade 6 through 12 sort of situation, which I guess is not unlike a boarding school type situation in the real world.
Do they because as we're as we're wending our way through the questions and we've got this all figured out, we're talking and figuring out, at least for me and my edifications, like I just want to know how the school works, so then I know
Yeah.
like how the
Yeah.
kids and how you're expected to sort of interact with the NPC. But this kind of feeds into it too. But can you describe the physical appearance of Wren? If we're imagining this boarding school situation, is everyone wearing standardized uniforms, or is everyone allowed to kind of dress as is appropriate for their particular vocation that they're studying for?
Yeah, no standard uniform. The way that the students dress does lend itself really well to what they're training for. So if you
Mm,
were to kind of peek in, you might be able to even guess by what they're wearing which sort of classes they're training in based on what
mm,
they're wearing.
okay. And so then in
Yeah.
particular for Ren, with her being a grave cleric, does she is it more is it more Hot Topic? Is it more Raven from Teen Titans? Or like what's the sort of vibe that she's going for?
The vibe is a little gothic. She wears mostly like a dark purple color. She's got kind of a lighter purple robe underneath, and then a dark purple, like big hood, kind of hooded cowl sort of thing that she wears over her head. Spooky, a little bit witchy, maybe, I guess is a good way to describe it.
Okay. So do people get thrown off because they think like, "Oh, she looks like she could be like a necromancer or like a shadow sorcerer or something like that." And then she says like
Yeah.
a prayer or something like that, or does something that a cleric would do, and they're like, "Oh, wait. Oh, you're one of those kids." Okay.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people are scared of her at first glance. I mean, if you can imagine, she's got this kind of spooky vibe going on. She looks kind of witchy, and she's also quite a bit bigger than most of the other students because this is a
Yeah.
half orc. So
Right.
she's kind of standing above a lot of these other
Is
kids.
she like upper 5 feet, or is she even breached like 6 feet or something like this? I mean, she's 12, so I could, if she's like 6 foot or taller by the time she's 12, it's like the WNBA better be calling to draft her for their team or something.
Right. No, she's not quite that tall, but she's probably a good half a foot or so taller than the other students who are, humans, elves, dwarves,
Okay.
shorter folk.
And as far as the half orcness is concerned, as far as a phenotype versus a genotype, I don't know, is there a particular way in how she appears? Like if you looked at her, you could either clearly tell she's like, like very orcish looking, but not fully orc, or, even some like a fun way to kind of play with the trope is like she's half orc, but she actually appears. I know I've done this at least for one NPC where like she looks really human, but then it's only when you look at like she smiles big or opens up her lip, you actually see like the more pronounced, lower incisor teeth to even hint at the fact of
Mhm.
like, oh, she's actually half orcish. She looks human, but she's actually half orcish.
Yeah, she looks more human than orc-ish, but she does have like the big incisor teeth that orcs have, and her skin color is like kind of light greenish.
Mm. So like
So,
mint cream ice cream, or like more
yeah.
muted. I was playing, well, my friend Catherine and we launched a cross play campaign for Baldur's Gate 3. So she's playing on a PlayStation, I'm playing on Xbox. That was a whole thing to figure out, but we got through the
Fun.
prologue, we got to the beach, and we got to camp. Um but it was interesting when I was creating my character for that game as a half elf, a half wood elf. I was going through the pigmentation of the skin. I was like, oh, some of these like wood elf tones, because I remember in the book it said like, oh, they could be copperish and stuff like that, but like some of the
Yeah.
wood tones like looked very muted green, like almost kind of like a dollar bill, like a really worn dollar bill or something like that. I was like, that's kind of
Okay.
interesting choice for a wood elf coloration, where you'd almost be like, "Are you okay? You look like you're off color," or something like that. Is like that kind of green, or
Right.
is it more traditional, sort of orcish, but not heavily like orcish green?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you think of like orcish green, but like a little lighter.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay. She hasn't gotten a tan yet.
no, no orc tan on this girl yet.
Right. Well, she's got the big cloak and cowl that she's wearing, so she avoids the sun,
She
fulfilling all
does.
the goth vampire stereotypes of middle schoolers of like, I can't
Very much so.
possibly be in sun. The sun is my enemy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Very cool. I'm loving Ren. Can you describe her with 3 adjectives now that we kind of have an idea of like how she physically looks to help role play her a little bit better in our games? What 3 adjectives best describe her?
Yeah. I know I said spooky already before. Shy and I don't know, I think at first glance kind of an outsider, like she doesn't fit in.
Hmm. Misfit.
Yeah, a little misfit. Uh-huh.
Okay. She's got Breakfast Club energy to her.
Yeah.
Ali Sheedy's character, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like quiet, keeps to herself, but then when she like outbursts or says something, like everyone looks at her like, "Oh, you actually talk or whatever, or you have something to
Yes,
add to the conversation."
it's very much that. It's very much that. And I will give a little spoiler that Wren actually does not say any words in the first book. She has no
Wow.
lines.
Interesting. Okay, so just chooses to not speak and just merely
Hmm.
observe. Probably has her own internal monologue that she's running and opinions that she's forming on other
Yeah.
characters that we're seeing in the story, but doesn't actually speak in the first book. Interesting.
Yeah, you'll be able to know kind of what she's thinking just by looking at her facial expressions and body language and the illustrations, but she does not speak. Not yet.
Interesting. Well, can you tease us a little bit and what when we hear her speak, what does she sound like?
So she's actually, surprisingly for an orc, she's actually very soft spoken. She has a very like quiet, kind of demure voice.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Not a sexy voice though. She's still a child.
Right, right. I'm just going to the Raven image from Teen Titans, and I think I didn't really watch that show all that much, but like I think Tara Strong's voice acting in it kind of keeps her like sort of like that kind of low and down here and intense, but also
Yeah.
demure and before she says her
Yeah.
magic phrase and then like all her powers shoot off and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now that we've done the adjectives, we're getting an idea of the character. We of course like all of our NPCs to have something valuable on their person, whether that's going to be a valuable item, a piece of lore, a secret, or an ideal or concept that Ren would ascribe to. I know we've just been, talking and learning about the character. Of course, I have the tables if you're looking to just generate something fun that maybe hasn't been depicted in the books, but could eventually find their way into the books, and then people would know where the origin of that random thing would come from. But I don't know. Is there
Yeah, that
something?
sounds fun.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Let's
We're gonna
let's
go to
bring
the.
some tables in.
Okay. Yeah. So then it's a D4 for the category, and then a
Okay.
D6 for the particular thing.
All right. D4, right?
Correct for the first one.
All right, that's a 2.
Okay. This is gonna be a piece of lore, and then a D6 for the piece of lore.
A 5.
5. Okay, well, your answer was suggested by our Patreon supporter, my dad, Wayne Crenwelge. And it says here that Wren knows how to bake cakes so that whomever eats from it, the baker can read their mind for a day.
Ooh. Wait, is she the baker?
If she knows how to bake cakes so that whomever
If
eats
she
from
bakes
it,
the cakes.
that she can read their
Okay.
mind for a day.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, so tell me more about that. How Ren came to this knowledge. Is this something that she like picked up in class one day? All the other kids sort of like breezed over it, didn't caring, but she's like, actually, I'm gonna investigate this a little more and figured out how to do like a detect thoughts through culinary components.
Through cake. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that definitely sounds like a self-study program that she picked up of her own will in a class.
Yeah, she went to the library. Yeah, definitely fits with like the wow, she's like hanging out in the library on her own. She doesn't even have an assignment to do. What's she even doing here? She's secretly
Yeah.
figuring out the recipe for this. So now everyone knows that I don't know, it'd be interesting. How long would it be? They figure out like, wow, she makes like these really good cakes, but then
Mhm.
she's able to read their mind for an entire day. And so then she's just like subtly dropping hints or something like that based on what people are doing. And so then everyone gets weirded out by her even more because they're like, it's so
Right.
uncanny. It's like she knows what I'm thinking. She knows what I'm going to
Yes,
do or
she
say.
knows. Uh-huh. Yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense for Wren as a character because she is this kind of like misfit character, but she really wants to find belonging and fit in with people, as most preteens do deep down. But but I imagine that might be a way that she would try to understand people better and maybe win some friends over. But like you said, I think it likely might just scare them away even more. Like, oh, that's even more strange and off-putting.
Yeah, just trying to think how kids think. I don't know. Again, I'm just thinking like if she becomes more speaking in future books, if like the our main heroes are offered a cake from Wren and they eat of it, but all the other kids are trying to warn them like, don't eat the cake. If you do that, Wren's gonna put a curse on you or something like that. Because the kids don't know the secret of what's actually going on. But then it's
Right.
like then Ren's able to like maybe she tries to do something nice where she figures out like, because one of the characters is like, oh man, I really wish I could have this thing or I could see this thing or do this thing. And then she actually pulls it
Yeah.
off for them. And then the kids are like, well, how are you able to do this? And then maybe she lets in on the secret about the cake. And then that
Mm,
explains like, oh, so all the other kids misunderstand it. And then that like forms their friend group bond stronger.
yes. Yeah, like she wasn't actually cursing you. She was just reading your mind through the cake to try to be your
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Going about it a very weird roundabout way. So it sounds like, yeah,
friend.
like her biggest thing is like because of the path that she's on and what she's chosen, she's physically bigger than all these other kids around the school. She just has a hard time making friends. And of course, like a tween, would go about the longest scenic route of actually trying to make friends rather than just the direct thing of just going up to someone being like, hi, my name is Wren. I'm studying to be a cleric. What's your name? Like, no, I
Right.
need to make a cake and offer it to people like a hag and get them to agree to eat the cake.
That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Okay.
Oh
Sounds
goodness, I
cool.
like that one. That worked out really well.
Yeah. Well, the dice give, man. The dice give. Sometimes they take away, but more often on this podcast, they give and they give very good, fun suggestions.
Yes, they are giving today.
They are definitely very giving. Of course, our NPCs have to be able to have bright gold exclamation points over their head to offer up a side quest. So when we're putting Wren in our game, what's going to be the particular quest that she'd be willing to recruit or hire player characters or proper adventures to be able to go and do on her behalf? So if we're imagining that we're finding her in a magical school, the adventurers are there at the school, and she goes out of her way, or the adventurers go out of their way to meet her, and she's like, "I need help." Do you have an idea of what she'd offer up, or do you want to roll the dice and figure out?
Let's roll one. I
Roll
like
one.
what the
Okay.
dice are saying so far.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and roll a d12 then.
All right. 12.
12. Ooh, okay. Well, this one was suggested by our previous guest, Jessica Markram. An influential spirit has vanished. Are there spirits
Oh,
present at the school? I mean, she's a grave cleric, so that also makes
yeah.
sense.
This would be a perfect quest for her. Yeah. She
Yeah.
would be in touch with those spirits.
Yeah. So an influential spirit has vanished. Are there spirit professors, teachers, educators at this place? Like, if, we talk about, like, oh, Harry Potter, and yes, there were ghosts that were clearly around the school. And I'm sure other works and medias and projects have done that as well. I certainly like to
Right.
entertain every now and then that, like, oh yeah, there's just a ghost that lives and works here because they're
Yeah.
too stubborn to move on, and they just happen to like to do their job. But yeah, is there like
Yeah.
a ghost or something like that that teaches like I don't really like enjoying teaching how turn undead works, but I'm the perfect person to encapsulate the spirit, or explain how it repels spirits away and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah, maybe just like a former professor that, passed on but didn't want to leave school yet. Just
Mm,
sticking around, not ready to retire, Death can't even stop him.
okay. All right. So someone in the religious studies department that hangs around and teaches classes, but an influential spirit nonetheless has suddenly vanished. Certainly, we leave it open to dungeon masters to be able to invent their reason as to why, but I don't know, just shooting from the hip, whether or not you actually have a influential spirit character at at your school, you might now. But I don't know. You're thinking, is there a is what are you thinking as to why they vanished? Because would Ren's first thought be like, oh, they decided that they wanted to pass on, but they just didn't tell anyone? Or is it something more nefarious, or like, oh, they just went off to go do an errand, but just didn't tell anyone?
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking maybe something more mysterious that like something happened to them or they got pulled away to deal with something that needs solving.
Mm. They got trapped somewhere. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm trapped in like a soul jar. I can't get
Yeah.
out. I can't get out of the soul jar. I need you to smash me out of here, please.
Yeah, something like that. That's kind of what I
Or
was
trap, or
thinking.
yeah, like trapped in a soul jar, or a puzzle, or something like that. So like the kids, contextualizing it for your wonderful stories of like, Ren's really concerned that this professor's gone missing, so she and the
Yeah.
gang all go off to like, we read that he was off to go find this treasure that we were going to use for an upcoming lecture demonstration. And as they're going through the catacombs, or the temple, or the ruins, or whatever, they find the puzzle. Then it's like, oh, he's trapped in like a ward of some kind, and he can't break out on his
Yeah.
own. And there's some trap that's activated that the kids have got to stop in order for him to be released, or whatever.
I'm here for it. I like
Okay.
that.
All right, so yeah, whether it's going to be the actual in the books version that Nicole will get to write, or you use it in your adventure, but what's going to be the reward for success? So Ren, for our podcast purposes, recruits adults to go and handle this, to go find where the spirit went, however the circumstances were. But the spirit
Yeah.
returns, resumes their classes, everything's all well and good. How is Ren going to reward the party?
Mm. How would she reward the Now I'm thinking about the cake again. Um,
Does she teach them how to make the cakes?
that could be a fun trick. Yeah, teach them how to make those special cakes where they can detect thoughts. I like that. She could share her cake recipe.
She shares the cake recipe that allows you the ability to read someone's mind, again, as my dad stipulated, for an entire day. So beyond the
Entire day.
normal means of like a detect thoughts spell, it's just the way I'm reading it and thinking of how my dad would word it. It would just be like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. It's just like you could think about it and be like, oh, they're thinking about tuna fish. I don't know why they're thinking about
Mhm.
tuna fish, but that's what they're thinking about right
Yeah,
now.
unlimited range all day.
Yeah. But it must be that it must be really hard to make these cakes, because it's not, otherwise it's too game breaking, I feel like, as far as like, oh, if all I need is just sugar, eggs, flour, water, and I just think about it really hard and then it works. It's like, I feel like it's got to
Right?
be like an owl bear egg. It's got to be like dander from a unicorn, or whatever it is, like some weird, very
Yeah, something
niche
really
mythic
unique.
ingredients. Yeah.
I agree.
So she teaches you how to make it. So if you have the wherewithal to go owl bear and unicorn hunting, again, ethically sourced, not doing anything cruel to them, but you get the ingredients for the cake, you make the cake, someone eats the cake, and suddenly you can unlimited range wiretap them for an entire full 24 hours, I think.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. And of course, the consequence of the flip side, what's going to be the conditions if the heroes fail or they refuse her. Like they're like, we're just here to drop off a message at the school. We're not here to pick up side quests from tweens. Go back to Hot
Right.
Topic or whatever they say. How is Ren? How is Ren going to react to that?
Well, she's not going to be very pleased that these adults will not help her. Well, child in need here.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess this spirit professor is going to be lost forever or until someone else comes to find him. Just really a bummer.
Right. But, he is a ghost, so it's not like he's gonna, like, die all over again, I suppose. He'll just be
True.
trapped there, but maybe not be so
Think of,
nice.
think of all the lessons he won't be able to teach, you know? I mean, the
Yeah.
students are really missing out. This is our next generation of heroes here.
Yeah. No. The influential spirit should be whoever the DM wants to invent. I know Nicole already has her idea of who it should be. This podcast episode would be 3 times as long if we sat here and went through all the faculty of Wren's college, but we'll just leave it there. Leave some mystery. You have to buy the books, people. You can't just get everything for free.
True.
Yeah. So now that we've made it through all the regular questions, we do have the optional questions. And do you think there's any of those that might help us to round out Ren a little bit more? Or do you feel like you're ready to go to a random encounter?
Think I'm ready. I feel like we know Wren pretty well. I mean, I know her very well. I think I shared enough where you know her well too.
All right. Well, we've got our first preview plus a little bit more, it seems, of one of the NPCs featured in the upcoming Tales of Aetheria. And so now I think it's time to head into a random encounter. This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And, if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing? What sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to? Well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQPodcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQPodcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast. All right, so we've made it here to the random encounter. So like we did with Rhyme,
Manticore chocolatier.
the Manticore chocolatier. Yes, my mind went to blank there for a hot second there. But yes, just like we did with Rhyme, now is the point in the show where we get to do a little bit of a role play, a vignette, a scene. So obviously, don't want to spoil the books. I know you said she doesn't talk in the first book alone, but what kind of scene are you interested in showcasing Wren in today? Is she going to be like meeting with one of my podcast adventuring characters to give the quest? Is she interacting with other students? Is she trying to make a friend, feed someone a cake? Or I don't know. What kind of scene are you interested in showing her off in today?
Let's do a cake one. This cake thing is very interesting to me.
Okay, so she's offering a cake to like another student, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And by offering, she's just gonna be like putting it in front of them, kind of like in a way where they will be tempted to try some of it, but they may not actually know it came from her.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you have any idea of the character in the scene that I should be as far as another student, or should it just be invent who you think you it will be, and then we'll just take the scene from there?
Yeah, just invent someone else who might be at the academy happening upon this cake.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of junior high. Go back to those memories. It's okay. It's okay. We've been to therapy. We've grown up. We've matured. We don't have to go to any dark places from junior high. It's okay. Life gets better. It's okay, kids. All right. Perfect. All right. Would you care to set the scene or would you like me to set the scene?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we're at the Heroes Academy in Aetheria, and the camera, for the animated show or movie, it zooms in. It's perhaps the dining hall where all the students are congregating. We see a rather cloaked but hunched over, larger uh, young girl sitting at a table. She has this cake in front of her. She's thinking of her course of plan of action. You know, maybe it's her lunch period. So she looks around to see like who's around. Maybe there's like an up and coming blonde haired coiffed hair, like jock type. So they're a fighter. And like this kid has already
Okay.
talked about like, oh, I'm a big game. I'm the up and coming on the sports team. Our school rules, your school drools, kind of a guy. We'll say that
Mhm.
there's another girl, maybe like the girlfriend of the day, because I remember junior high being like, "Oh, you're my girlfriend, you're my boyfriend," at the beginning of the day, and then by the end of the day, they're broken up. Maybe it's like a bard in training, girl. She's treating it more of like ballerina school or something like that. Like she's dressed up in maybe like a ballerina outfit, an elven little girl, and she's next to this this junior high football star essentially who's like bragging about like, oh yeah, coach says I'm the best on the team. And then finally maybe there is a she recognizes this other kid. He's also in the cleric school. But maybe he is like the trickery domain, so he's
Ooh.
been working on like his pranks and stuff like that. So currently he's going over some of his science class notes. He's trying to figure out the mixture ratios, um, like from his artifice. Like he's also second majoring in artificery, I guess, trying to decide like my parents want me to do this cleric thing, but I kind of like doing the science thing for pulling off tricks. So maybe I'll become like an arcane trickster rogue, or I'll just become an artificer. But kind of doing like the Tom Holland Spider-Man thing where he opens the drawer and he does the webbing mixture. He's at the lunch table. He's eating his lunch with one hand, but he's like he's working on some sort of mixture in the other. He's trying to be very conscious and careful about like I'm mixing something with my left hand, I'm eating with my right hand. So he's focusing on like not messing that up. He's got a wide berth around him. No one wants to mess with him because whatever he's experimenting with, it smells like, like the really awful fish from Sweden that no one wants to eat. The preserved pickled fish. That's what it smells like. And he's experimenting with that. Meanwhile, he's happily eating his school lunch with the other hand. And we'll say he looks like a dwarf. He's like a dwarf kid. He's got like three peach fuzz hairs that he's very proud of. while he's working on this. So that's who catches Wren's eye this day as she's contemplating who she's going to approach with the cake.
I love it. Okay. So Wren's kind of sitting there, like tapping her hands and looking around furtively, trying to decide what to do with this cake, special cake that she's got here. And she decides that she wants to try it out on this dwarf fellow student that is looking distracted over there. So she picks up the little cake and she walks over kind of awkwardly and she puts it on the table next to him, just bloop, and kind of stands there.
Oh, and she just stands there. Okay. And I think because his perception, he's like at a disadvantage. He rolls his perception check at disadvantage and does not notice. So she's going to be standing there for a while. So he's just like, no, he's like muttering in Dwarvish. He's got like his very rough sort of like calculations of like what he's working on. And she can like obviously peek over his shoulder because she's much taller. And she can see like the diagram where it's like Dwarvish runes and it looks like equations like he's learned in science classes. And you can see that he's, because of the smell of what he's working on, basically it's like his version of the rudimentary workings of like a stinking cloud spell or something like that. So that's what he's trying to work on right now. But he's also like got a diagram where he's trying to figure out how to like like get the spell to be inside of like a whoopee cushion or something. So that way, when someone would sit on the whoopee cushion, it would just activate a stinking cloud spell and it would just like cause all kinds of chaos and stuff like that. So he's like, he's muttering, he's laughing. He's like, like, oh, this will be so funny. Like, oh yeah, I'll get that professor. He's thinks he can give me bad grades. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know. And so he's sitting there eating. I think he gets to a point, maybe she's standing there for like 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes while he's doing, he finishes his food, but then he does a double take as he looks over and he sees this cake. But he doesn't see her. He sees the cake. So is before he actually starts digging into the cake, is she going to like, say something or do anything to like introduce herself, or is she just going to like let this happen?
She's just gonna let this happen. She was just really standing there to make sure he actually ate the cake. So now that he's paying attention to the cake, looking like he's gonna eat it, she just kind of like backs away and observes. Very creepy, like.
Right. Yeah, and with his like he's a growing dwarven boy. So he's like he looks at like his student issued mug of well, butterbeer or the whatever, it's not ale, although he's probably the kind of kid who argued with the faculty that like my mom and dad let me drink ale all the time at home. So why can't I have ale here? I have to drink water and milk like everyone else.
Right?
So like whatever he argued to get like his version, he's already had like one big tankard of that. He had a full meal that probably most adults would be like, I'm full after even looking at that. Like, so he sees this whole cake and he's just like, well, don't mind if I do. And he pulls it over and he starts eating it while he's working on the equations for his stinking cloud whoopee fart cushion. And he eats that thing clean. He eats it all. So what's Wren thinking as she's watching him eat the cake, and she's very early on getting the rudimentary like, oh, she can start picking up what he's thinking and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, she's standing there still kind of awkward, like up against the wall in the cafeteria and just sort of looking at him and starting to get some of these little thoughts from his mind that are mostly about the concoction he's trying to create right now. And she just kind of you know looks kind of confused and skeptical and is like, huh, that, yeah, she's kind of talking to herself like that's what he's working on, that's where he wants to spend his time. Okay, how peculiar.
Yeah, she starts to hear his thoughts talking about like he's talking about his particular um, dwarven patron saint or whatever that he looks up to because he's like he starts running through the story of like, oh yeah, this dwarf, he was the greatest prankster. Like I heard he pranked the king of the hill giants with one of these sorts of things, and it made the hill giants smell even worse. The hill giant smelled, took one whiff of this, and he keeled over dead. So he's thinking about like the grandeur level of like, oh yeah, I'm just this like 12-year-old dwarven boy who's gonna figure out how to craft this master level spell and put it into a whoopee cushion for me to be able to be just like my hero.
Mm, okay, and Ren's kind of starting to think through like, okay, so if I want to be friends with this person, he's really into this dwarven lore stuff and trickery and fart smells. Okay, okay.
Yeah, and so he's just gonna keep on with his lunch. The cake consumed. Maybe finally at one point, he's licking his fingers clean. And again, he's been very careful to make sure he doesn't mix the two. But maybe he finally looks over and he sees Ren, and she's been muttering to herself. And he's just like, because she's trying to analyze what he's thinking in. So now it starts being the feedback loop of where she's hearing like, oh, there's that tall girl. Like, what's she doing over there muttering? Like, she's always so strange doing things like that. Like, just the other week, I heard my halfling friend talk about how she was skulking around the trash cans the other day. And so he's starting to recount some of those stories about Wren. So now Wren is having to hear about her exploits being told from hearsay sorts of vantage points and stuff like that.
Oh.
Again, he doesn't
Yeah,
know, and he doesn't
he doesn't
understand that
know.
she's reading his mind. So he's just kind of like, after a while, he just like, because he just kind of like waves with his other hand that he's been experimenting with, and then absentmindedly goes to lick his finger, and then he realizes what he's done, and maybe on this day his dwarven steel belly constitution hasn't done well, so he starts gagging really loudly and like making the sounds of like he's gonna retch. So now in her mind she's hearing, oh, I'm gonna throw up, oh, I'm gonna throw up, oh, quick, where's the trash can? So then he takes off running. He leaves his science experiment there because it's more important that he finds a trash can and not embarrass himself. So that's what he's gone off to
Yes.
do.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. Poor Ren. Ren. Ren is just so like baffled by this whole situation that now she feels like guilty because she feels like it's her that made this poor boy throw up when she was just trying to see what he was interested in to try to make a friend.
Well, thankfully, I think, it would probably go without saying that she's able to turn that on and off. So I don't think it's like permanently stuck on.
Oh,
Because
we
she was
hope
smart
not.
enough to read that in the book. So she probably says whatever she needs to say, incantation wise, to turn off the unlimited Wi-Fi to his brain for her to listen in on. Um, so she looks over, she can see him. He's bent over the trash can, but he hasn't quite done anything yet. And he takes a second to kind of like settle himself. And he's looking at his hand that he was using to mix the concoction. And then he's like, you can see him talking to himself as if he's saying like, okay, like the potency is getting there. Like if just me licking my fingers enough to almost make me want to puke my guts out, then like I must be on the right track. So then he will slowly return, and then maybe he starts to, I don't know, maybe he starts to pack up his lunch. But is there any last attempt or thing that Ren will do as the lunch period is coming to a close and her window of opportunity to say anything to a person?
Well, the one valuable thing that she got from this interaction is she does understand more about his interests. So she's going to file that away in her brain for her next trip to the library and see if she can find any kind of interesting material in the library on tricking, pranking, or dwarven trickery god lore. to potentially present to this potential new friend.
And scene. So we did it. I think that was a wonderful way to get to show Wren off and kind of invent some tweens on the spot. Hopefully, maybe we have a jock, an elven, a human jock, an elven cheerleader, ballerina. No, it was a ballerina, not a cheerleader. And then just like the science geek trickery cleric dwarf boy with the three hairs poking out in the peach fuzz.
I love them. They
Yeah.
definitely are going to the school now.
Yay! Our podcast does its humble part. So yeah, now that we've had an opportunity to experience Wren, we're not going to hear her talk in the first book, but at least moving forward, hopefully we will. And so for you, for us, what was that experience of getting to breathe a life and a character and a voice, if you will, to Wren today?
Yeah, I love it. I one of the books that I'm working on right now is actually going to be an early reader chapter book that's all Wren's backstory before she came to the academy. So
Oh.
I love sharing Wren with people. I think she might be my favorite character from the book, even though she's not one of the main characters. I don't know. I really like her. It's the inner like outsider misfit goth version of myself, I think.
Aw. So it's kind of like I mean, and if I understand, I mean, it's your children who are the protagonists of the story. So in
Yes.
a way, it's a self-insert character for you to be able to show them, to how to like, oh, what would it have been like if we had met mom when she was in middle school, and you're like, surprise, I was the lurking awkward kid.
Yes, right.
It's genetic. This is what you're gonna have to look forward to.
No, my kids are way cooler than me already.
Yeah, that's true. Our kids do end up becoming cooler than us.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I love Ren.
Awesome. Well,
Mm.
I'm glad that I got to, do my little part to impart some fun, some some random chance background things, and I look forward to being able to get my copy and then eventually seeing like, wait a minute, Wren has a cake. She's offering a cake to someone. Like, I know the meaning behind this, sort of a thing. And then listeners of the
Yes,
podcast will be in the know of like, why is Wren always offering cakes to people? And like, how does she
right?
always seem to know, like, oh, they're in trouble. But because they ate the cake, she's able to show up and be like, I knew you were in trouble. And they're like, how did you know? Yeah, that'd be really cool to see in this play out in the story.
Yeah, I like it. Little like background Easter egg just for us and the listeners.
Yeah. And so, being back on the podcast, this is the final thoughts section. So, it's been a couple months since you were on, but in that time since then, I don't know. How do you think it's been being back on the show?
It's great. I'm happy to come back anytime. It's always a fun time, and I just love the kind of back and forth creating things. It's always really fun and I think really unique as far as podcasts go.
Well, thank you. I certainly appreciate that and happy to do my part, especially, when you're creating a book world, and you've got all those characters that you're working with your illustrator to be like, ooh, I want this kind of a person in the background in this scene. So it's
Mhm.
just kind of like an even further way, to put more self-insert characters, or you're like, oh, I want to honor my buddy and their character. So let me stick them in the background. Like you said, Easter eggs. It's like a real fun way to collaborate, but then also to be able to, give them more depth to help people remember, like, oh, Wren isn't just like some knockoff goth, uh, you know, uh, 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 from Teen Titans wannabe character. It's like Wren has like a whole story, and you're working on this novella backstory to kind of explain Wren as a person. So that's really cool to like help kids, even kids, to be able to be like, oh, like this friend of mine, like, she has like a whole life and experience and perspective. She's my friend, but it's different than mine. And I think that's really good to be able to help humanize and show that with our kids.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's really important for, kids young through teens to be exposed to, different people, diversity, different backgrounds, and I hope to bring some of that into this fantasy world in a fun way.
Yeah, of course, in a fun way. And this, all of your friends and listeners and well wishers, I'm sure would be more than happy to contribute more NPCs to just stick into the background of your book and of your game world. Uh, so yeah, as we're here in the final moments, certainly I want to give you uh, certainly at first I want to thank you for coming back on the podcast again and having this treat here for the month of May. So I want to give you the platform here at the end to be able to plug all the plugs, share all the links, do all the things. And then if there's any other passions or causes that we need to be made aware of, let us know.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me again. It was really fun. And obviously, the main thing that I'm pushing right now is the Kickstarter to launch the book, the first book in the Tales of Aetheria series called An Unexpected Quest. So that and a bunch of other goodies are available now on Kickstarter. May 1st through the 31st is when you can put in your pledges for that. And I'm also running a contest, like a giveaway contest. So you can, I can add, I can send the link so it can be in the show notes, but it's also going to be all over my socials and in all my bios and stuff like that too. So it should
Yeah.
be pretty easy to find. It's a giveaway contest that goes through a platform called Gleam. But it's a lots of ways to get free entries into the giveaway, and that actually gets you the grand prize that you can win is like the legendary tier rewards from
Ooh.
Kickstarter. So it's like all the things. It's like all the versions of the book and all the extras. So it's definitely a really good prize for the giveaway. So go get you
Yeah.
some free entries if you haven't yet.
Yeah, and then again, we got to make sure you're plugged into all of Nicole's socials. So I believe it's the primary platforms you're on are like Instagram, right?
Yeah, Instagram is where I'm the most active and where I answer messages most quickly. So if you actually want to talk to me, Instagram is good. Game Master Mom, all one word. But I'm also Game Master Mom on pretty much all other socials too, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. So Game Master Mom across the board. Also, my website and web store are GameMasterMom.com. So all very simple.
Yeah, and then if you want to hear more of Nicole's thoughts on D&D and all things tabletop and running games for kids and all that, aside from I know at least one guest episode that you did for Area of Effect for the Kids Table podcast, you've got
Okay.
Story Crafters. They're already up
Yes.
to 10, 11 episodes at this point. So you've got dishes to wash, you've got cars to drive, you've got yards to mow. It's summertime, people. You got to keep your yards in check. You should throw on your earbuds and listen to the Storycrafters podcast on all major podcast platforms
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
and
Or
YouTube.
YouTube if you want to watch us talk.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, again, Nicole, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Can't wait to have you back on, making even more interesting NPCs.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for Side KQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and Sidequests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the Levitating Platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and Sidequests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast,
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sidekicks and Sidequests.